Alright, hey guys, welcome back to another Tuesday tip video. So I've been getting a lot of people asking me what they think of, like, I just got the game, which set should I buy, which expansion should I buy, all this other stuff. So I decided to create like a tier list. This is all based on personal preference, and I would just already assemble the tier list beforehand, and I can just kind of go over what I think about this. Again, this is all personal preference. And this doesn't account for availability, because I know like Dark City just got reprinted, but like it's hard to find Dark City. It was hard to find Fantastic Four for a while, and Guardians and so on and so forth. So this is kind of just like my thoughts on, like, does it change the game in any kind of different way? Like how much does it change the game? How well the hero cards, does it make the game harder? Stuff like that. So that's kind of like where I'm basing off of. So we can just actually start with, like, and these aren't, I just left the tiers as S, A, B, C, D. I tried to rename them, but I just didn't really know what I would name them, because it's like, you definitely should buy these, then you should buy these ones next, and these ones next, and that's how I kind of think about it. If you're someone like me who gets every set when it comes out and you have everything, then this obviously doesn't apply. But if you had just gotten the game and you're like, okay, I want to get an expansion or two, you're going to look at like, okay, so this is kind of for that. Like, what should I go for? And again, this does not apply to availability. So if you're like browsing and you're like, oh snap, well, like Civil War, it's very hard to find Civil War. I'm just gonna get this right now because I plan, like, if you're planning on getting everything eventually, then I would account for stuff, the availability of stuff before anything else. So anyway, that's enough rambling and setup. Let's get on to it. So first off, you need the base game, obviously. So that's thrown in there. Honestly, I didn't even mean to put it in here. I guess it was in the middle of my files, and I was like, I'll just upload it with the rest of them. So you obviously need the base game. Oh, and there's no particular order to the tiers. There's just how I've kind of organized them. Then I went with Dark City. It's pretty obvious as well. Dark City adds a ton of cards from like a lot of X-Men heroes, because I think the base set only comes with like 6 or something, and so you get a lot of, I mean, the base set only comes with like 17 cards and heroes, but you get a lot of X-Men heroes, and then you get a lot of cool, like teleport's a very good word, cool keyword. You get what's the one from? Is it Versatile come? Like Domino's card, like Domino's really good. Bishop's really good. Like, you get a lot of really good X-Men cards, but you just get a lot of good stuff, and it really ramps up difficulty. Like, the game becomes much harder. Strife is fairly hard. And again, this is actually just always everything I'm talking about is in context of solo. So, because that's all I upload are solo stuff. So I mean it in terms of solo. But Strife is hard. Apocalypse is hard. Mephisto. You get Marvel Knights. You get Blade. You get I'm trying to think of who else. You get Daredevil. You get Punisher. Do you get Daredevil? Yeah, I think you do get Daredevil. Anyway, point is, it's a really great set. If you can get Dark City, get Dark City. It makes the game it just makes the game better. And then the other set I say, like, you must have, if you're only gonna buy the game and you're gonna buy a couple sets, I think World War Hulk is the other one that you have to have. And I say that because most of the heroes, like almost all the heroes, are fantastic. I think they're all really good, and the transform mechanic is my favorite mechanic in the entire game. So if you don't know, transform is there will be a card with a particular condition that you switch out with another card. Like, each character comes with a transformed deck, and so one of their cards gets swapped out for a different version. For example, like Hulk has a card where it's like a 2 attack, I think 3 recruit card. And if you've drawn more than 2 cards that turn, 2 cards or more that turn, you transform it. And so it's a 2 attack, 3 cost yellow card. It's 3 or 4 cost, I can't remember. You switch it out for a card. I think it's 5 or 6. It's 5 cost, 3 attack, and it's another card where it's like, if you were to discard this card from a card effect, put it back in your hand. And so it's really, really good. And you get this new card in place of the old one. And so it's just really cool mechanic. And I hope they bring it back for another set, because it's such a fun mechanic, and it really kind of changes your strategy throughout the game, because the cards do different things. It's really cool. So I think if you're going to just buy the base game and buy a couple expansions, I think Dark City and World War Hulk, that'll give you a ton of heroes. It'll give you a ton of masterminds, a ton of schemes, a ton of henchmen. Like, they're big boxes, so you're going to get a lot of stuff. So that's my top tier, S tier stuff you should have. Next, I'll say, and I have this ordered by box sets, so actually this should be moved over a little bit by box set size. So next, I think for if you get that stuff and you want the next thing to get, I would say after that was this next tier. So I would say X-Men. Again, there's a lot. I mean, obviously the whole set's X-Men. There's a lot of cool cards in there. Piercing Energy is in there, so you have a whole new mechanic. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's a little iffy. But if you center your build around Piercing Energy, it's really fun, and you can kind of tackle things a different approach. This set also, if I'm not mistaken, maybe the first set of Epic Masterminds. Like, this may be the first one that does Epic Masterminds, so you flip it over and you have a harder version. It's got the hardest Mastermind in the entire game, being Dark Phoenix is in this set. There's a lot of Masterminds in this set that are very, very hard. The horrors are very hard. So there's a lot of cool stuff to make the game very difficult. And the heroes are pretty cool. So I think X-Men is another, and it's a big box again, so you get a lot of stuff. You get a ton of Masterminds, you get a few henchmen, you get a bunch of villains. So big box stuff I think always are going to be better than the small box stuff for the most part, with a couple exceptions obviously here, just because you get a lot of content. But if you want to change up the game, I think X-Men's probably the next best thing. Next is Revelations. So Revelations is their first medium box. It's got 200 cards instead of the typical 300 to 400 from a big box and 100 of a small box. It's the only one of two so far because they just started doing this. Revelations is I like it a lot. It adds a lot of the missing heroes that we'd see from the MCU. So you get War Machine, you get Scarlet Witch, you get Quicksilver, you get Ronin from he was in Endgame. Hawkeye. So you get 9 heroes. But what I really like about this set is that, first off, so the Mandarin has a really cool thing with his henchmen, that they're all a different card. So all 10 henchmen cards are different. So that's a really cool thing they've added. But most importantly is the transforming schemes. And so, again, I'm on the transforming thing. I hope they bring this back for another set. That the schemes will change depending on what scheme twist it is. So on the back side of the scheme is another scheme. And after the first scheme twist, it transforms to the other thing, and so now you have different conditions, and then it transforms back, and it's just a really cool mechanic. I think it makes things really interesting when stuff can flip back and forth. So that's my biggest reason. It gives you a lot of variety from the typical, this is your Mastermind, this is your scheme. You get to have a transforming scheme. And then it also adds locations. So you've got another villain variant where it's a place in the city, and you have to fight it separately, and it's not a villain, but... Oh yeah, and speaking of which, I forgot to add, both Hulk and X-Men come with traps, so they're another thing that come in the villain groups. So you get some different stuff. These add different stuff to the game, some variation. My 2 personal favorite small boxes are Noir, partially because I think those heroes work. I think they're all really good. The Investigate keyword's really interesting, and you kind of can manipulate your deck a little bit from Investigate. If you don't know what that is, you look at the top 2 cards of a deck, and then if there's a certain draw condition, Investigate for a tech hero, you'll look at the top 2 cards of the deck. If there's a tech hero there, you get to draw it. If not, you put the cards back on the top or on the bottom or any order, so you can put one on top, one on bottom. But it's kind of cool to move your deck. So you pull up the top 2, and you're oh, they're shield cards, I don't want them, throw them to the bottom, and then you can kind of just deal with some stuff that way. So I think all the heroes are really good. I like this one too because the Spider-Man Noir, I feel is one of the Spider-Man cards that can be used kind of outside of a Spider-Man team. His stuff just kind of, to me, works a little bit better. Iron Man Noir is really cool. Luke Cage Noir is awesome. I really love that set. And then Champions, with the exception of Totally Awesome Hulk, I love all 4 of the heroes. Nova, Miss Marvel, Gwenpool, and Vision are all really good. I mean, Hulk is fine, but he's just the most boring to me. You also get... what else do you get from that set? You get... Oh, Fin Fang Foom. I think that's how you say his name. He's very strong Mastermind, so that's really fun. So I like that set because I like all the heroes in that set. It's a really fun set as well. So... Small boxes, those are my 2 go-to straight off the bat. And my favorite superhero ever is Spider-Man, and I put the Spider-Man sets lower. So this goes to show you how much I like those 2 sets. So if you got everything there, then I would go on to finishing out getting the big boxes. So you've got Civil War and there's 2 Secret Wars. So Civil War is probably my least favorite of the big boxes because I don't know. It's like a lot of like you're fighting heroes and stuff like that, and it's fine. It's just I'd rather like it wasn't as interesting to me, but it adds the sidekicks. I believe the regular Bucky sidekicks. No, they add against Secret Wars. So Civil War adds the special sidekicks, and they're okay. They're probably I'd rather have the Bucky ones, the Draw 2, which come in Secret War, but they add those, and adding sidekicks is always great because that adds another mechanic, another thing you can draw. But it also adds, I think Civil War adds that, I think there's every hero's got a split card. So they've got like another hero with them. So like Luke Cage has Jessica Jones on a card. I think, who else is there? There's a whole Black Panther and Storm. They're all the split cards there. Cloak and Dagger are all there, and they're split cards, but their whole set's split. I'm trying to remember who else. I think... What is it? Stature. Stature's actually one of my favorite cards, and she's in that set. She's got Iron Lad. Captain America's got Battlestar. So they've got like some cool split cards. So you've got 2 cards on one kind of thing. So that's always kind of cool. But it's probably my least favorite of the big boxes. So Secret Wars Volume 1 and 2 were kind of hard. I didn't want to separate them. They're more or less they're Volume 1 and Volume 2. So the cool thing about that says they add the sidekicks. Like I said, that comes to Secret Wars Volume 1. This whole set adds multicolored cards, and because it's like the Secret Wars thing, you get some villains. So you get like the Black Order. Well, they're the Cabal. So you get like Proxima Midnight, you get Corvus Glaive, you get Thanos as a hero. So that's really cool. You get to try. You can have like Maximus. You get as a hero. So that's really cool because you get some bad guys to play with. But the multicolored cards are there, so a card can be both green and blue or black and yellow or whatever. So it's really, I don't actually know if there's any that are black and yellow. But anyway, that's just really cool. But I think those other big boxes are just more, they're worth it more to me. So that's why I kind of ranked them in the next tier down to get the B tier. As for the small boxes here, Paint the Town Red's really cool because you get Spider-Man cards, but they're not all the 2-cost cards. So you get Black Cat, you do get the Black Suit Spider-Man, but you get Scarlet Spider, you get Spider-Woman, and you get Moon Knight. And Moon Knight's one of my favorite heroes in this game, and they're Marvel Knights, so you get another Marvel Knights character, which is always fun. Kind of go with Dark City. Carnage and Mysterio are 2 of my favorite masterminds to play against because they're not super hard, but they're not easy either. Like they're challenging, but they're fun. Carnage is just a 9 attack, and he's got Feast, and that's a cool effect, and it works out for you if you can get rid of some stuff. And then Mysterio is a lot of fun because you have to fight him a bunch of times because he just takes the Master Strike and adds it into as a tactic. So that's to me, it's fun to fight them. So I like the Masterminds a lot in that set. I like a lot of the heroes. Venom would be next. I like the Venom heroes a lot. I think I like the digest and ingestion mechanic. Carnage is one of my favorite cards from that set. Venom's pretty good from that set. You get a Hybrid, which is an interesting Mastermind, and you get Poison Thanos, which is really cool. So I think Venom's a really good set. I would say Guardians is next, mainly because of Thanos. Because you get Thanos in that, you get the Infinity Gems. The heroes are kind of so-so. I think, for me personally, the Shard mechanic, and I have to just mess around with this within the Cosmos more. You kind of combine the sets, but the Shard mechanic relative to this was kind of okay. Star-Lord's characters, the artifacts are kind of neat. I think that's probably what I liked most about the set was artifacts, but I'm really getting Guardians for Thanos. I mean, that's really what you'd be getting it for. And I mean, and the Guardians work really well together, so playing with them would be fun. Shield's next, mainly because you get the Adaptoid. You get the 2 Masterminds, and they have ability, just like the Adaptoid and the Hydra Council Masterminds, and they are Masterminds, but they don't have a main card. They've got their 4 tactics, and that's it. And so they switch. So like after a Master Striker, after you defeat one, they adapt, and so you shuffle them up, and then whatever one's on top, whatever tactic is on top, is the card you fight. It's a really cool mechanic, I think. I'd like to see that come back too, just because it changes it up. It makes it very different. So they add that, and then they add special shield officers. So until then, the shield officer stack was I very rarely recruited from there. Now it kind of changes it up, and you get to put them face down, and there's a mix of more interesting things. And plus the heroes, because they're all shield cards, they send shield cards undercover, and you can get rid of a lot of your starter deck by throwing them into the what do you call it? Into the victory pile. Actually, you know what? I'm actually going to move shield up here. I think it's better. Now that I'm talking about it, I think it's better than that. So I'm moving shield up. Shield is, you got to get a shield. Shield's really good. It only has 4 heroes, but it's really good. So it gives more value to the shield officers. So, and then finally on the middle tier, we have Fantastic Four. The main reason, like, I would say, like, Invisible Woman's really good. Human Torch is really good. Thing's pretty good, but like Silver Surfer, I'm not a big fan of. Mr. Fantastic, I'm neither here nor there. I'm either way for it. But you get Galactus, you get the Heralds of Galactus, and you get Mole Man, which he's kind of whatever. He's fairly easy, but Galactus is another kind of heavy hitter in the giant, selection of masterminds available for this game, and he's very hard, and that's a really fun person to have. So it's like, that's why for me, similarly to get Guardians, like, they're very similar sets to me. Like, the heroes work really well together, and they have a really, really, really strong mastermind. So for the same reason I get Guardians, I'd put Fantastic Four there. So moving on to the next tier, we have the C tier here. Into the Cosmos, it just came out. The set's fine. I think I was probably a little more hyped for it than what ended up being what I got. I think a lot of people kind of agree that, like, the heroes just don't seem to work. They don't seem very strong. The masterminds are very strong in this set, and the heroes don't, like, you can play a set with the heroes that it comes with and usually do really, really well if, like, you're just exclusively playing that. And it's just, this set's pretty hard for the heroes versus the masterminds. So it's fine. It's got some cool stuff in it, but I think I'd pick some other stuff over that. The next we have the Asgard set. It's another relatively new set. The heroes are fine. I think Thor's really cool in this set. I think Valkyrie's got some cool stuff, but it's fine. The masterminds aren't, they're not, I vaguely think they're not that hard. I think Hela can get pretty hard, but, they're cool. It's fine. I like it, but let me think of it like this. The top tier is like basically everything in that box is great. The A tier is like most everything in that box is great. The B tier, it's like 50% or more of that box is really great, but not quite to the point of A tier. C tier is there's like a lot of great stuff, but I'd say less than 50% is like game changing or making me feel like I'm so glad I got this set. Like, there's some cool stuff in there, but other sets have more stuff that I would rather have. So that kind of goes to Ant-Man, because Ant-Man carries my favorite hero, like one of my favorite cards in this whole set, which is Wasp. I think she's incredible. And she's not, she's good. I don't know if she's like super good, but she's really good. And that's one of my favorite cards in the game. But, Jocasta's okay. Wonder Man and who else? Black Knight. They're fine. I think the Wonder Man's pretty good, especially if you rock the right team with him. It's just weird. It wasn't really cohesive as a set. Like, you've got Ant-Man, Jocasta, Wasp, and then you've got Ultron, and then also you have Morgan Le Fay, Wonder Man, and Black Knight. And it's just a weird kind of combination. And I don't know enough about the comics to say if that makes sense or not, but it was very odd to me. So Ant-Man's got some cool stuff, but again, it's not it's not the end of the world if you skipped it. New Mutants, I liked the heroes a lot. The masterminds were okay. I think Emma Frost is fairly easy in the context of solo. And I don't think, I think if you play with too many of the heroes and they're trying to, Wolfsbane's really good. For example, that's the one I played with probably the most recently. But it's like, you can't, if you're playing with Sunspot and Wolfsbane, you really can't get anything going because one relies on sunlight, one relies on moonlight, and they're conflicting with each other. And so it's like you have to play with them with they're better, and this is kind of how I think of Into the Cosmos, they're better with one of those heroes mixed in with another team so that their mechanic doesn't, their mechanic really doesn't interfere with another players, if you have Wolfsbane trying to do Moonlight stuff, it's not going to bother like a team of Wolverine and Proxima Midnight, right? Like, because it doesn't matter. I mean, I think Proxima Midnight has a lot of even cost cards, so it may be a problem. But it's not like if they're all odd, it's going to do anything to those characters. So that's where or even, it's not going to do anything to those characters. So that's why I think it's got some cool stuff, but there's other stuff. There's more stuff in other sets. And then the last one on this tier is Homecoming. I know this is probably a controversial one because a lot of people don't like it for having the movie artwork. Mechanically, it's got a lot of cool stuff. I think Happy Hogan's one of the best cards in the game, and he's in this set. Danger Sense is a really cool feature, which is also known to Cosmos, but it first started in this set. Coordinates in this set, which is kind of neat to have from encounters. I think the Vulture is one of the hardest villains or masterminds in the game for solo, but it's fine. I mean, Tony Stark's okay. Peter's allies are they're fine. I think Happy Hogan's the best one in the set, so it's fine. If you can find it, you can probably find that one for cheap, so I'd buy it for cheap if you don't have it, just to have it. And then finally, we're going to get down to the bottom tier. And again, if you're a completionist, you're going to buy all this. Go for, I'm going to buy them all no matter if they all came with terrible cards. I'd still buy them. But for me, these are my last picks. So I've got Dimensions on here. This is mostly because if you were like me, you had already gotten the 3D set. You had most of this box already. The 3D set had Howard the Duck. It had Man-Thing. It had the Circus of Crime, and it had the Spider Slayers. So what is that? 20, 40, 50, 48 cards that you already had. I think there might have been something. I don't know. You had most of it. So then you get Squirrel Girl, Miss America, and Jessica Jones, which are like, okay, those are cool. They're fine. And then you get J. Jonah Jameson as a mastermind. But for the most part, it's like, I had most of these cards already. And so I'm glad that it's available for everybody to get. But in terms of, in context of, it's just something I already have, but a little bit more. So it's okay. If you didn't have those 3D cards already, then you can maybe bump it up a tier or two. But, it's not. The next one's Captain America. The sets, it's fine. There's just nothing in there that says, I must own this. Unless you love Captain America, then go for it. But that's really the only reason. You've got Falcon Captain America. You've got 1941 Captain America. You've got Winter Soldier. You've got Agent X-13. And you have Steve Rogers, Director of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's fine. Go for it. Whatever. That's all I got to say. And then Deadpool's kind of the same thing. Deadpool he's got two very hard masterminds, and then the heroes are they sort of work, but they're kind of goofy, and I think for solo, they probably make more sense. Some of them make more sense in context of playing with other people, but I don't know. It's just, Deadpool's fine. If you love Deadpool, go for it. But as someone who's not a huge, I don't dislike Deadpool, but he's not anything I'd be super, I'm not super excited about it. So that's really the list, guys. Let me know what you think about my list, and if you think you'd have a different list or whatever, if you have different rankings or whatever, let me know what you'd think. Maybe back in a year or so we can revisit this with more expansions, but we can come back to this and see what I think a year from now. But yeah, so if you just buy the game and you're looking for expansions, this is kind of the way that I think I'd buy them. And again, there's no real order to these. But I think big boxes are always more beneficial than small boxes because there's just more content in them. But yeah, anyway, that's going to be it, guys. I really appreciate you guys watching. And yeah, I'll see you guys on Friday for the playthrough. Bye-bye. Oh, look at that. That was weird.